Thank you all so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. My name is Hanson, and I am the board chair of JSpaceCanada. I joined the organization about 6 or 8 months ago. And I want to also thank all of our panelists. Some of whom are still very much engaged in their breakout sessions. But I think what we heard today was an amazing sort of summary and representation of the situation that Israel is facing in the current moment. I want to acknowledge the immense challenges before us, the threats to democracy, the escalating global tensions, and the struggle for the soul of both Israel and the Jewish community. Our emotions are raw, certainly at this time, shock, fear, and anger, but we have to channel them into action. So let me also acknowledge the immense opportunities before us. It is clear, post-October 7th, that two camps of leadership have emerged within the Jewish community. One which stokes fear and anger in the community, which believes in Israel as a nation that forever will dwell alone, driven by messianic and expansionist desires. And another, which we are proud and grateful to lead, along with our presenting partners and promotional partners here today, which understands that peace is not a pipe dream or a fantasy, but an imperative, a necessity. It is the vision of those who are both dreamers and pragmatists, who understand that for Israelis to live in sovereignty with peace and security, so too must Palestinians. JSpaceCanada was built as a home for those who refuse to choose between being pro-Israel and pro-Palestine, pro-democracy, pro-peace, or pro-human rights. Today, we remain the strongest political force within the Canadian Jewish community, standing against autocracy, occupation, and the erosion of democratic values precisely because of our Jewish and Zionist values. We have to show up. We have to engage. We have to vote. We have to support those who share our vision. The road ahead is long, but history has shown that the pendulum does swing, and it's our role to push that pendulum as much as we can. That's what JSpace is about in the Canadian context. Our task is not to despair, but to fight for a future where both Israel and democracy thrive. And the opportunity for change is real, and together we must seize it. On that note, I want to draw your attention to some of the things that are being done by partner organizations. Thursday, April 24th, Toronto Friends of Standing Together will be hosting the Canadian Peace Summit with Israeli and Palestinian peace activists Itamar Ben-Gvir, Angela Matar, Maozi Noam, Aziz Abu Sara, and Amira Mohammed. On June 4th, Women Wage Peace Canada will be hosting the Vivian Silver Legacy event called In Her Voice. In September, JSpaceCanada and Canadian Friends of Peace Now, led by the New Israel Fund of Canada, will be hosting a conference here in Toronto with Ta'awetz. If you want to make a difference in how Canadian philanthropic dollars to Israel are located, you can vote soon in the Canadian Zionist Federation elections, and we've been talking about that already today, and Jacob is at the back here who can answer your questions about that. For the next hour or so, we want to allow you to continue to build on exactly this work. Please stick around, have some coffee, tea, snacks, learn more about these upcoming events at the tables at the back, and meet one another. Chat with fellow attendees, the directors and board members of the presenting organizations, and our wonderful speakers, because we will build our better future by supporting one another. We will build a better future by building political power. For too long, maximalist voices that called for a zero-sum approach to Israel-Palestine dominated the conversations with Canadian politicians. We have changed the political landscape by polling the Canadian Jewish community every year to accurately present to politicians data on the range and breadth of our community's opinions and attitudes. We have done so by bringing together Israeli and Palestinian peace builders to Parliament Hill, and by building relationships with politicians across the political spectrum. We know we're going to be going to an election very soon here in Canada. I think it's now officially April 28th. And we want to make sure that candidates from all parties hear the same calls to action you heard from our speakers here today. And those are, 1, reaffirm Canada's support for continued negotiations for a hostage release deal and the end of the war. 2, pressure the Israeli government to halt settlement expansion in the occupied West Bank through sanctions on violent settlers and by affirming that all settlements in the occupied West Bank are illegal under Canadian foreign policy. 3, reaffirm Canada's role as an international peacekeeping and peace-building force by announcing intent to participate in an international peace conference following the end of this war. Before you leave today, you will receive an email with a petition to your local MPs asking them to support the Israeli and Palestinian peace builders you heard today by following through on these 3 calls to action. Please sign the petition. And of course, to continue this work, we need your financial support. On your way out, please take a JSpace sticker, visit the website, make a donation as generously as you can. Our work is funded solely by individual donors just like you, and we can only continue the work and grow the organization with your support. I want to end on a bit of a personal note, if I may. And Maytal asked me to talk about why did I get involved in JSpace, and I was struggling to give an answer that was meaningful. And then this morning, so by way of context, my wife is here. My wife and I have an Israeli son-in-law. He's 43 years old. He lives in Boston now together with our daughter and grandchildren. He, like many Israelis, served in the army. He served in the combat unit. He did reserve duty. And part of his reserve duty was done with a cousin of his, who was the same age as him. He got the news this morning, and he passed it along to us, that this cousin recently completed a tour of duty, another rotation in the Gaza Strip. That cousin came home and died by suicide yesterday. And so that person is added to the terrible list of casualties in this horrible conflict. There's another family that has been ripped apart, added to the list of thousands and thousands and thousands of families in Israel and Palestine who have been destroyed by this conflict. And so my answer to the question of why JSpace is to continue to stay involved in this fight in whatever way I can. And my contribution, though likely to be very minimal and very insignificant in the scheme of things, is important. And so I ask you all to stay involved in this fight. And if we've heard anything from our panelists today, they are telling us that we have a voice in this fight, that they need our support in this fight. They want us involved in this fight. So I ask you to stay involved and to be involved in all of the groups that you support, and to just keep on fighting with the rest of us. And I so much, as JSpace Board Chair, appreciate the work that all of you do, the donations that all of you make to this range of incredible organizations. And let's keep in mind that what we're doing here is supporting these people who live this reality every day. And if we think we're under stress, we don't know what stress is. These people are dealing with it every day in their lives, and they're putting their lives on the line in this fight. So I thank you all so much for being a part of this and for your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your comments, Norm. That does conclude the official portion of the conference today, but we do have another hour in this space. We have this whole floor, so if you're involved in a conversation or you want a little bit more privacy, you have some of the rooms down here. Please feel free to introduce yourselves to the speakers, to the heads of the organizations, to one another. Let's keep building community. Thank you so much for coming out today.